Dr. Porter is a surgeon at an upstate hospital, the first in his family to go to college, an MD from Yale University and a business degree from Kellogg. And yet, as he puts it, it is clear most have no idea of his background, even in his own operating room.
I was in the OR, finished a case, and in most operating rooms there's a team that comes in and they'll turn the room over. And the team tech, the team leader cleaning the room, comes in and says, "Hey, we've got to get this room turned over. There's another case coming." And I look with this moi kind of a, and so he says, "Yeah, we've got to get this room turned over. We're late. Let's go." And so I grab a mop and I start cleaning the room. So my circulating nurse comes in and she says, "Dr. Porter, what are you doing?" And I said, "That guy told me that we have to clean the room." And we looked at that guy, and all he did was put his head down, drop his mop, and walk out. And it was one of those deals where you could look at this many different ways, right? You can look at this with anger, you can look at this with ire, or you can look at this, if you look at that particular OR at that particular time, 20 to 30% of the people that cleaned the rooms were black. Out of all of the surgeons, 3 were black.
In fact, Dr. Porter says numbers are worth looking at in every workplace or organization. For instance, in his specialty, orthopedic surgeons, Porter says only roughly 600 of 29,000 are black, just 2%.
It is what it is. Healthcare is not immune from the ills of society. It is a microcosm of the macrocosm of society.
And that's certainly an example on the job. When you go to the grocery store, when you live in a community, people may not know your background. Shouldn't matter what your background is. What have you experienced as a black man in America?
But I was in a neighborhood before we moved out into the country, and I got awakened on a Sunday morning. I still remember this Sunday morning, sheriff at the door. And he says, "Can I show you something?" And spray painted on my street in this nice neighborhood, physician salary, etc., was a very explicative blank you N-word, "Go home," on the street. And so this isn't 1964. This isn't some country road somewhere. This is a professional neighborhood with professional people in a modern time. At what point do we as a society say there might be a difference in the experiences in this society based on nothing more than race?
To that end, I think after the death of George Floyd, there were a lot of people who were curious and felt the pain, whether they were black or white, curious enough to want to bridge the conversation with their minority friends, but didn't quite know how. Do you have any advice there?
I do. I would firstly ask questions of those individuals. Do you truly have minority friends? Or do you know minority people? That is a massive difference. And this isn't a conversation that I think individuals should have with barely known minorities, because it can go sideways very quickly, right? One's curiosity can be perceived in many different ways that aren't really healthy to the conversation. So I would push back and say that oftentimes diversity is situational diversity. We are diverse from 9 to 5. I'm okay with being diverse from 9 to 5. I'm okay with being diverse as long as it's the individuals that are below me on the hierarchy, not above me. But where I'm not okay being diverse, church. Where I'm not okay being diverse, my country club. Where I'm not okay being diverse, my children's significant others. There are a lot of areas where we aren't okay being diverse, but only the person who holds those feelings and biases know those areas, and in 2020 they would never admit it out loud. What I would submit is one of the big problems that we have had in this country is that we haven't had genuine, heartfelt diversity, such that a majority person has a comfort level enough with a minority person to ask biting questions that show ignorance and vulnerability. Because once you can show ignorance and vulnerability, and you can do so, and the other person allows that grace, now you've got the foundation for something that is great. You don't need a class. You don't need someone to teach you what to do.
Dr. Porter believes racism in our country may improve if we can, as he says, talk to the heart through sharing these kinds of intimate stories and embracing concepts like interracial marriage and adoption. Porter says what the death of George Floyd has demonstrated to those who are not living the black experience is that racism in its many different forms still persists. In the Spartanburg studio, Diane Lee, 7 News.
Thought-provoking conversation from Dr. Scott Porter. Now, to see more of that interview, we've posted several additional clips of that interview on our website at WSPA.com.